Hello, football faithful. Welcome back to another episode of the Double Doink Podcast. My name is Brenden D. Thank you so much for tuning in today. If you haven't already, please hit that subscribe button. It would be greatly appreciated. If you can also rate the podcast and review the podcast wherever you do listen to your podcast, it would also be greatly appreciated. Wildcard weekend, Super Wildcard weekend is almost in the books. We have one more game tonight, but we're going to be kind of breaking down exactly what happened this weekend. And to first kick off the episode, I am joined by the Athletic senior writer for the Athletic, Mike Sando is with me. Mike, how are we doing?
I'm doing well. Thanks for having me on. First time.
Yeah, thanks for coming on. Greatly appreciate. Been reading you forever, so it's an honor to have you on. You've been covering the league for about what now? Almost 25 years.
Pretty close, yeah. Late 90s. I covered some college sports before that because I'm a little bit old. But yeah, you think you've seen it all, and then you see things like the end of the Dallas 49er game, and you realize you're seeing new things every time. Maybe that keeps it fresh for us.
So I was going to start with the Eagles, but I do think the kind of since I'm an Eagles fan, there's definitely my follower base has got it's been a crazy last 24 hours. A lot of hot takes being spent at which direction should this team go. But I do think the most pressing question, the most pressing topic is exactly what happened in the 49ers Dallas Cowboys game. I kind of want to just start just with the game in general. What did 49ers do to kind of shut down that Dallas offense? I've never seen this Dallas offense kind of so sporadic, but Dak Prescott looked really uncomfortable.
I think they've been hit and miss all year for having good stats. You know, you could look at their numbers for the year. I'm sure they were fine, but they were down 30-0 to Denver this year. They had these games, and it was a struggle. And I think I wrote it off a little bit because I think almost every team had their fits and spurts this year. It wasn't a sprint from start to finish. There was times Buffalo looked bad, Kansas City looked bad. And I just sort of thought, I still believe Dak Prescott's a good quarterback. He's basically got two number one receivers. But, there's something about, I'd say their offensive line, really was a strength when Dak was coming up. And those things run their course a little bit. And I felt like they didn't win that battle for sure. They haven't had the consistent kind of, run game that probably we can debate how important it is, but I think it's a friend of a quarterback. And I think it certainly helps him. And so, they were a little bit easier to defend in the game. And I think Dak Prescott missed some throws too. There were passes behind guys. I don't think his accuracy's ever been amazing, but it's been good. And It just wasn't, I don't think he had one of his best days either. So very disappointing for them and him. Look, they got one playoff win, despite having mostly winning seasons the last 5 years. And
three playoff wins since 1995.
Yeah, exactly. And none in the Prescott era, or one in the Prescott era against the Seattle team that was kind of fizzling at the time. So I understand why Jerry Jones was unhappy after the game. I did think this was a bad matchup, though. I think the 49ers were a tough team. I think the NFC West is a tough division. I mean, shoot, Seattle didn't make the playoffs. They swept the 49ers. Mm-hmm. They kicked the pants off Arizona in the last game of the year. So that's a tough division. And 49ers a little bit battle hardened, I think. And I picked before the game on my podcast, The Football GM with Randy Mueller, I did take the 49ers and the points. I thought that was a good bet.
So you brought up a good point with the offensive line. I think that's kind of what the story of this game was. Dak Prescott was pressured the second most in his career. Ezekiel Elliott was hit 1 yard before contact. So he had nowhere to go. And usually Dallas Cowboys offensive line just strength, right? Like they kind of just got bullied.
Yeah, they did. They did. I don't think they've been as great as they once were, for sure. The personnel's changed a little bit. Some of it's gotten a little older. But yeah, they found themselves in a little bit of a fight with, and the 49ers did a good job even after Bosa was out of there. So tough for them. Maybe that's an area that they need to make sure they're strong at again going into next year.
So before we get to the 49ers side of things, I want to just stick with Dallas here quickly. Do they make any changes? Like, are you buying this? Like, Mike McCarthy should be fired. We should be transitioning out of his reign. Like they're going to probably lose both. One coordinator is probably going to go. I'm assuming Dan Quinn will get hired somewhere, and then Kellen Moore is probably also, he's been interviewing other places. So there's a chance here where both of them could be out of the building going into next year. And that's been kind of, both those guys have been rock stars. Like Dan Quinn has changed his defense. He was an awesome hire. Kellen Moore has had that offense humming over the past couple of years. So Is it time for a change? I know it's only been a couple of years, but Mike McCarthy, they led the league in penalties this year. There was a lot of kind of boneheaded in-game in-game decisions he's made over the last couple of years.
Yeah, I think they need a culture transplant there. I think it's hard to coach the team there always. Bill Parcells was working uphill against it because of the fact that Jerry Jones is so involved. Look at all the games this weekend. How many teams' GMs were available to the media after the game? One.
Yeah.
Jerry Jones is there talking. I think it's very hard to have the accountability, to be a stickler for details, to make the players, avoid penalties or whatever your push is, when everyone knows that you're just kind of a puppet there, and really Jerry Jones runs the thing, and you got to be in good graces with Jerry. And if you are, you're made. If you're in with Jerry, Zeke Elliott, you'll get a contract. Don't worry about it. Romo, you'll get the contract. Hey, Dak, don't worry. You'll get the top of the market contract. And so I think it makes it hard for I think it's chops off the coach at the knees a little bit. You're right. Dan Quinn did a nice job coming in there with the defense. Kellen Moore got, did some good things, but I think it was, I don't think the tape from this game Sunday was going to be circled around the league of how to do it. So he's a young coordinator that probably will have some opportunities, but in Dallas, I think you're always fighting upstream, whoever it is, because of the setup. And frankly, I think it's been that way for many years, maybe since really Jimmy Johnson probably had the real authority, but now everyone kind of knows what the deal is. And that's just a hard way to coach a team and just, really be on point. And Jerry doesn't care because he owns the team and gets to do what he wants.
Yeah, and you brought up a good point with the contract situation. Like, they're going to lose Michael Gallup this offseason. Part of the reason why is because Amari Cooper and Ezekiel Elliott are making a ton of money. They overpaid kind of their own guys. Like, Amari Cooper's not playing like a $25 million wide receiver this year. Ezekiel Elliott is clearly not worth his contract, and they're going to be paying both of them for the few years to come. Okay, let's talk about the 49ers quick here. That was a big-time win. That was a statement win. They look great. Deebo Samuels, I think, he's like my favorite non-Philadelphia Eagle in the league to watch. He's outstanding.
Beast.
What does this win mean for them, kind of big picture here? And what do you think about the matchup in Green Bay? Like, we all saw, was it 2 years ago, I believe, right, when they ran it down their throats in the NFC Championship game? Is this a bad matchup for Green Bay? Should they be worried?
Yeah, a little bit. I think that offensively, the Packers are good enough to win the game in multiple different ways. And I think if it comes down to 2-minute situation or having to really get into a passing contest, they have a clear advantage. And so I think the Packers are going to win at home. But the 49ers, to me, really sort of, I don't want to say salvage the Shanahan Lynch era, but it was getting pretty tiresome hearing about how they were going to win 10 games every year, and they really only had one good season the whole time. So I think this is pretty validating for them because they kind of found themselves caught in this transition period where, hey, we're still in it for the now. We're a good team, but we drafted this quarterback, and there's no real easy way when you're in year whatever 5 and have been disappointing to just go through the growing pains with the young quarterback. So to me, this is working out pretty well. They got to see Trey Lance a little bit. I would have liked to have seen more packages for him. The first game against Arizona wasn't good, but the next game he had was a little bit better. And now maybe they are going to maximize Jimmy Garoppolo's trade value, put another needed winning season in the books, and we'll see how far it goes. But to me, they're in the house money range. They not only made the playoffs after being written off, they've won a playoff game. That's huge. I think that's a huge win in their sales and probably buys them a more comfortable runway to make the transition to Trey Lance next year when there could be growing pains.
Yeah, the Jimmy Garoppolo trade situation is so interesting because there's not a lot of quarterbacks on the market this offseason, right? Like, unless a couple come out of nowhere, but you're looking at Russell Wilson and Deshaun Watson. Both those guys are going to have a really hefty price tag. If one of them, Watson will probably be on the move shortly. Wilson, we don't know yet. And then you're kind of, it's no man's land. Jimmy Garoppolo is probably the next guy up. So a team, they can kind of jack up that price just from a supply and demand kind of way to look at it. So I got to move over to the Philadelphia Eagles. They lose 31-15 to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Offense came out flat. Tampa Bay kind of rolled early. Jalen Hurts threw an interception right before halftime, and that's when I kind of realized the ball game was over. What did you make of the Eagles' performance that game?
It was a little shocking to see the disparity between them and a real championship contender. I think that really came into focus. I was probably, from an Eagles standpoint, more hopeful that it would be a better performance. But maybe sometimes the truth hurts, but it's what you need to hear, right? And
Yeah.
this was still a successful season for Jalen Hurts and the Eagles. I mean, I think they have a little bit of a better roster mix than they had a year or two ago when they were propping that window open. I'm talking about between the young and the old. You can see a path forward for them. I think, have your floor is higher now with Jalen Hurts, but your eye and mind is still open. If there's a great opportunity, if there's somebody clearly better, I don't think you would feel like Hurts is so amazing that you couldn't consider making a clear upgrade, but you've kind of got something there that you might want to see more of. You develop your coaching staff showed a good flexibility during the season to change how they play and get around him. They did, I think, make some strides in the drop back passing game as the season went along, and they have to become better and more comfortable in that light. But all in all, from where they were, this was just a humbling way to end the season, but maybe in a good way, because it burns away any false senses of how close we are, right?
Yeah, I just wanted to be competitive. I kept saying that going in, like, just be competitive. They were sort of competitive, but it was just, they haven't played. You're right. They didn't play a good team in so long. And that's what kind of fan base we're all waiting for. Like, it was like 8-9 weeks since you played a team with a winning record. The New Orleans Saints was the last time they played one, and they rocked in that game, but the Saints didn't make the playoffs. So this was the first time you're going up against a team in the playoffs in quite a while. And you're right. I think this game kind of emphasized the issues on the roster and just the bad decisions that this team has made up front. Like the Jalen Reagor job pick over Justin Jefferson, it was on full display in that game, right? Like Jalen Reagor, he had one catch for 2 yards. He muffed the punt. He's been one of the, analytically, like, yards per route run, kind of everywhere you look at it, he's been one of the worst receivers in the NFL this year. And there's a bunch of, and just the holes on the roster, the linebackers, the safeties. Like, I feel like this game maybe just emphasized that they're still a little bit away.
They are a bit away, but I felt like a year ago they were kind of screwed almost, or whatever. When things were really going sideways under Peterson, and you suddenly looked at the roster and realized how old they were.
Old, expensive.
Old and expensive, and I feel like they're less old and less expensive, right? I mean, there's a little bit of movement there with some players on the team. So, and Hurts is one of them. I mean, we'll see what comes of that. But I think all in all, you feel better than you did a year ago. But you're humbled and know that there's a lot more to do.
So the big looming offseason question with this team is they've got 3 first-round draft picks now to solidify. You got 15th, 16th, and now 19th. There's 2 quarterbacks that I've already mentioned, Deshaun Watson and Russell Wilson, that are probably both going to be on the market. I'm assuming Wilson is going to end up. Do you think he ends up requesting a trade? You're tied into the Seattle Seahawks organization. What do you think about that?
I don't know. I think I think he's a hinter arounder. Like,
he's not just going to go and say it. Like, he's going to.
Yeah. There's a little bit of a passive aggressiveness to this thing. And I think the risk for him is that I think because he didn't play great this year, it's a little bit harder to say that I'm playing amazing. And the reason I'm not winning the Super Bowl is because they're making mistakes with the roster, right? Because he just wasn't lights out. So I sensed a little bit of a turn, a little bit of a weariness, a little bit of a fatigue, maybe around the media that's covering him, around a segment of the fan base, to where if these things keep coming out, without him actually saying it, there's a little bit of eye rolling happening now. And it's like yesterday or Sunday, there was a report. I think Ian Rappaport had a report about it. Like, he's not requesting a trade, but he's really wants to see if there's some places out there. And
he goes like exploring his options, right? He wants to explore his options.
But it sort of didn't get a lot of traction. Like, if that story had come out a year ago,
but
it wasn't like everyone was talking about it. Just sort of like, well, there that goes again, whatever that is, let me know when something's going to happen. And so I think it's going to come down to the team's evaluation. They're going to have to decide, hey, is there a problem here? Can we overcome it? Is he just really unhappy? What could we get for him? How good is he? Is he going to really be one of these guys who plays great when he's 37 and 38? Because you can't fall into that. It's not going to be true for everybody. He's really been somebody who was extra dynamic when he was running and passing. It hasn't been running. It doesn't seem like as much. So I think there's a little bit of evaluation to be done there. Most likely, I think he's back. I think he gives them their best chance to win.
So that leads kind of to Deshaun Watson. I don't think they go to Russell Wilson wherever they would want to. He's a little bit older. They're not really like fully ready to win. I guess next year you're probably looking at 2023. So you're probably losing a year. His contract he gets $40 million in 2023. Then you have to extend him. So I think Deshaun Watson would probably be the guy that you're looking for in Philly, or if you're a Philadelphia Eagles fan to look out for. Like if he's available for 2 firsts and a second round pick, like are you making that move? Because like this roster needs young talent. Like they need to infuse this roster with younger guys because they missed on a lot of their draft picks, right? This is kind of the time to fill out the roster around it. But getting a star quarterback is kind of the way of the league, right? So what would you do if you were in Harry Roseman's boots?
Yeah, I think I would need a resolution of what was going on with these court cases. Are they settled? Do we have a good feel that there's not a problem here? Because those are serious accusations, and this is the quarterback. It's not like, hey, you know what? We're going to take a chance on this player at a different position, an offensive tackle, a corner, a linebacker. You can kind of do that, and if the guy gets in trouble, it's bad, but you just cut him, right?
Yeah.
And you didn't have that much. Usually, if you have somebody like that at a position, you're protected by the contract. You're not going to be all in on him, right? You sort of bring in Antonio Brown or whatever. You do this with a quarterback and you're in it for those picks and his contract, and he's available after every game in a press conference setting, and he's really a face of your organization. I think that's a lot easier to talk about and consider we're upgrading the quarterback position than it is to actually do. And if you're Howie Roseman, you want to be seated at that table, next to a quarterback you're bringing in. You better feel pretty darn good about that you're on solid ground. And like as a leader and a person, you can't get more solid than Jalen Hurts.
Yep.
Right? I mean, he's just everything you want, and you hope you can develop into the great player. So that's a little bit tricky for me. I think it's easier said than done on Deshaun Watson.
So what I think they should do is look to trade down to 15, maybe gather a first round pick. If there's a team willing to play ball, you can gather a first round pick for next year.
Yeah, I like
keeps
that.
Your offense options, and then you can take players at 16 and 19. And then if you need a new quarterback in 2023, then you have your options open. There's better quarterbacks in that draft. CJ Stroud and Bryce Young are coming out there. So that's the perfect world. Of course, it's not always never works like that in the NFL, but I think that's the way they should look. But if they go get Deshaun Watson, I feel like they have to be right, because would be Howie Roseman's now 4th quarterback that he has made a move for in the last 4 years. Like he went and got Carson Wentz. He went and paid that money, and then he drafted Jalen Hurts in the 2nd round. Like Jalen Hurts is Howie Roseman guy. He's a Howie Roseman pick.
Yeah, but a 2nd round pick to me is not a huge high risk
for a quarterback though. Like I feel like if you're taking a quarterback in the 2nd round, I feel like you're thinking this is our franchise quarterback. That's why the draft pick never made sense to me. Because you're going to invest.
I don't think that's high enough to meet the threshold. I think in the first round it is. I think in the 2nd round it's a little gray, but you can take a guy in the 2nd round because you really like him and not feel like, oh my gosh, we have no other options now for the next 3 years. It's a discipline, that sort of thing. I don't feel that with a 2nd round pick. I think they gave themselves an option and ended up using the option, and it worked out pretty good.
I have this theory around that trade. Last Eagles point before we move on. I have this theory around the Jalen Hurts draft pick is Howie Roseman missed on Russell Wilson back in when he got drafted in 2012, 2011. I can't remember the exact year. But Howie Roseman was emphatic for Russell Wilson. He loved him. He was going to take him. And then Seattle jumped over, I believe, a couple picks ahead and took him in the 3rd round over the Eagles. And I still think that loomed in Howie Roseman's head. And I feel like Jalen Hurts was kind of like, I'm not missing out on this one. If I like this prospect, I'm not doing that again. I feel like that Russell Wilson trade or the Seahawks jumping up and getting Wilson over the Eagles, I feel like that always stuck in his head. And I just feel like that was kind of like an overcorrection to a problem that happened over a decade ago. And the draft pick just never made sense from the get-go.
Right. But let's just say they had taken a receiver who's a 50-50 option to whether he becomes your number 2 or 3. Where are they at right now?
Yeah, well, you're right. The next pick was Jeremy Chin, I believe. He went right after for the safety for the
Yeah. I mean, Jeremy Chin would be a nice piece for them, but I'm not regretting the 2nd round pick on Hurts at all at this point. I think like I had seen a little bit of Carson Wentz in that town and just the whole thing. It was just, and you can see in Indy now they're having the same questions. So, I'm okay with that. Like that, you learn your lesson on Russell Wilson, because the quarterback position is one where it's really easy to make an excuse for why you don't draft somebody. Oh, we already have a guy we like. We didn't want to upset our quarterback room. Uh, oh, we really had a need at tight end. But if you think you've got somebody who has something special, it's such a hard position to evaluate, right? I mean,
Yep.
you can be a great quarterback of coach or whatever, and you don't know if that guy is really going to be good. I understand they had questions on Wentz, and if they thought this was a special guy and where he was coming from and just sort of his pedigree, they may be right. He may be. I mean, he may develop into the guy they want to have. So,
Mhm.
um, we'll see. I think. Do you want to see more Jalen Hurts, or do you want him to get another quarterback?
I think it should be Hurts. I think you stick with him next year. Like, he's 23, he's still a kid. Like, it's crazy because he's been in the limelight for what, like the past 5-6 years, right? Like Alabama. So we feel like we always kind of forget how young he actually is. And I seen progression. Like, I'll go from like week one. He looked pretty good against the Falcons. It was the first week, kind of they caught the Falcons defense off guard. But there was a stretch from like week 2 to week 7 where, okay, after that loss to the Raiders, I looked up Russell Wilson's contract. Like, I was the first thing I did. I Googled it and I was like, is this kind of possibility? Like, and I think a lot of Eagles fans were kind of in that boat. And then they flipped the offense and it helped them a lot. And the game against Washington to get in the playoffs in week 17, he won it with his arm. Like, he made some big time throws down the stretch. Yeah. You can see he's keeping his eyes downfield more as season gone. Like, he was always panicking. First read and he was gone. He's not doing that really anymore. He had that great first half in Denver where he had like 180 yards, 2 touchdowns. Quez Watkins dropped the third one. His stats could have been even more inflated in that game. So I think he's earned the right to have another year. But like you said, like if you have the opportunity to get a top 5 quarterback, which Deshaun Watson has played that way, then it's hard to pass up. It's just they better be darn right, because they've swung and missed at this position for a few times now. So let's just talk about Tampa quick. Tampa, I didn't think I thought this game was kind of there for the taking. I think the Eagles kind of shot themselves in the foot. I don't know if Tampa did a lot. I think the Eagles lost it more than Tampa won it. I will say that their defense looked really fast. Todd Bowles had the team playing hard. What do you make of this version of Tampa Bay Buccaneers and Antonio Brown and Chris Godwin? Leonard Fournette was also banged up. Like, are they a threat in the NFC? Because I feel like they are a step down from the Green Bay Packers.
I feel like they've been a step down too, through some of the injuries and attrition. And we saw when Wirfs went out of the game and they had some instability for a minute. It looked like they were going to lose their center, Jensen, and then he came back in. But it got to be where every third down was a sack for Tom Brady. It seemed like for a while. It does feel to me like they're just diminished enough, or it's just not coming together perfectly, that they'll probably lose one of these games on the way to the Super Bowl. But I still think they're good and dangerous. And look, every team's got question marks, right? I mean, Green Bay. If Green Bay lost to San Francisco, it wouldn't be there'd be a lot of people saying, "Oh, I wondered if that was a tough matchup." Right? There's no perfect team here. I just think odds are going through Lambeau that the Packers are going to win, a lot of those games.
I agree.
So I think they're the favorite for me, but there's certainly a way that Tampa Bay won their last year with 3 interceptions, right?
Yeah.
Didn't Brady throw 3 interceptions?
Yeah, he did. And
they won the game. So
yeah.
I don't count them out at all. I think it's house money for them because they won the Super Bowl last year. It's already a successful tenure for Brady there. Now they see if they can do it again.
So one more question before you go. Head coaching vacancies are already off and running. We got teams starting to make interviews, start to make calls. Denver is really aggressive right now. I believe they're interviewing 4 people in the next day or so. Is there a perfect match that you have been thinking about? Like, is there a perfect candidate that matches a perfect job?
I think Dan Quinn's a really good fit for Denver.
Okay.
Dan Quinn and the GM there, George Payton, worked together with Miami Dolphins. They're both kind of collaborative people. I think that there's would be a good mesh and fit with those two, as George Payton, tries to have a kind of a partner in having a good culture there in Denver. I think Dan Quinn's very mindful of that. There is, you could say, hey, wait, they've had a lot of defensive coaches there, and do we want somebody on the offensive side of the ball? But I think you can make mistakes when you go for the hottest scheme or somebody who thinks an offensive caller. That offense is going to be taken care of by exactly what it was this past year. Can they get a quarterback? And so if they can get one, any coach is going to do a lot better there. If not, they're going to be in trouble. The hard part there is you got those two good quarterbacks in the division, and Derek Carr's not bad as the third if he stays in Las Vegas. So, it's not the easiest place to win because of the division, but that would be a pretty logical fit between, you get a proven head coach who's also a hot candidate who has a background with the GM. I mean, that's pretty good.
Senior national writer for The Athletic, Mike Sando. Really appreciate you doing this. Mike, before you go, tell the listeners where they can read you, where they can listen to you, and in general, where they can find your work.
Definitely at The Athletic, and then you can find me on Twitter at Sando NFL.
That's Mike Sando of The Athletic. Double Doink Podcast will continue after this. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you to BetterHelp for sponsoring this episode. Many people want to start the new year off with a new goal in mind. For me, I'm trying to lose weight this year and get back into shape. The best way to stay focused on a goal is talking to someone about what's on your mind. Not everyone is someone they can lean on and talk to. That's where BetterHelp comes in. With BetterHelp, you have access to over 20,000 licensed therapists. It's not a crisis line. It's not self-help, but it's professional therapy done securely online. BetterHelp will assess your needs and match you with your own licensed professional therapist. If you've ever searched for a counselor in your area, you know it could take weeks or even months just to get a phone call back. With BetterHelp, you can start communicating in as little as 48 hours. BetterHelp is committed to facilitating great therapeutic matches so you can make it easy and free to change therapists if needed. It's more affordable than traditional offline therapy, and financial aid is available. Visit BetterHelp.com/doubledoink. That's BetterHelp, and join over 22 million people taking charge of their mental health with the help of an experienced professional. You deserve to prioritize your mental health this year, so get 10% off your first month at BetterHelp.com/doubledoink. And thank you to BetterHelp for sponsoring this episode.
This episode is also brought to you by Manscaped. Cheers to 2022 and resolutions you can actually keep. How about having clean and shiny balls all year round? Our sponsors at Manscaped are here to save your balls this year and make the ball drop into 2022 the cleanest and sexiest ever. Set your first New Year's resolution with good intentions and join the 4 million men worldwide who trust Manscaped with our exclusive offer. Go to manscaped.com and use code DOINK for 20% off plus free shipping. It's new year, new me with the global leaders in below-the-waist grooming. This year, take your package to the next level with their Performance Package 4.0 and brand new Ultra Premium Body Wash. Inside this Performance Package 4.0, you'll find the signature lawnmower. This electric trimmer is designed to trim hair on loose skin. The advanced skin-safe technology reduces cuts and nicks on your delicate nuts. It also comes equipped with a 4000K LED spotlight that will shine a light to the promised land 2022 looks to be. Get 20% off and free shipping with code DOINK at manscaped.com. That's 20% off and free shipping at manscaped.com.
This episode is also sponsored by Coolbet. Coolbet is the most transparent gaming company in the world. Coolbet also provides the best odds in Canada with world-class customer service. First-time users, use the deposit code DOINK, D-O-I-N-K, DOINK for 100% local bonus up to $200 when signing up with Coolbet. That's code DOINK. And Coolbet will match your first deposit up to $200. Give our friends at Coolbet Canada a follow on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook at Coolbet Canada. Coolbet. Stay cool. And bet responsibly. So you definitely heard that sexy voice. He's back. Co-host, Double Doink Podcast, Eric Warnsey. How we doing?
Good. Nothing better than a Monday snow day.
It is a winter fucking wonderland in Canada right now.
Yeah. Just, you get those Sunday scaries watching the late game, and then it's pretty nice when you wake up on Monday and realize, hey, I'm not going anywhere.
Is this the most snow? I think this is the most snow I've ever seen. Like, I'm trying to remember. Like, it's got to be up there. This is insane.
It's got to be up there. I mean, it's up to your knees. You just walk outside. It's up to your knees. Like, what do you do? Like, you can't move.
Halo, my dog was baffled. Like, so she kept like staring outside, like looking at my mom and my dad, like, move it. Like,
yeah,
like, I need to get outside. It is definitely crazy. You see Doug Ford shoveling people's snows. Like the car's caught in the street, he gets that little shovel out.
Worst shoveling technique you'd ever see.
He's not even wearing a toque. He's definitely got out of his car. He made that video for 5 seconds.
And then also, how about Ford on CP24 FaceTiming while driving?
Really? I did not see that.
He's on CP24 and he's driving around in the middle of a FaceTime. Like, what is he doing?
But couldn't hate a guy more. Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
All right. You're looking sharp, like the hoodie. Did you run a comb through your hair today?
No, I've literally probably been the most unproductive person on planet Earth today.
I think everyone was exactly. I think everyone was unproductive. I think it was kind of an all-in, let's take a day off on a Monday day for everyone at work. All right, Wardsy. some playoff action happened. Philadelphia Eagles have been eliminated. I want to give you hats off because I do admit when I'm wrong, and when you are right, I will call it out. You predicted it. You picked the Bucks by 30. Then it was down to 20. They did win by 15, but I think your overall kind of prediction of the game did come true. Actually, I don't think the Bucks really steamrolled. The Eagles just beat themselves. The Eagles shot themselves in the foot.
I just think on paper, the Bucks were the worst possible matchup for the Eagles. And I know all week, when you're talking to Greg Allman, he was talking about the run defense maybe being a little leaky. Maybe he's like, I just think when Todd Bowles says, hey, let's eliminate the run, they eliminate the run. They're the best in the league at doing it. When they want to stop the run, they're going to stop you. And when the Eagles can't get the run game going, that's their worst possible matchup, in my opinion.
They were putting 9 guys in the box, like right off the gate. Like that was the problem. Like they overly aggressively took the runaway. And Nick Sirianni, like he's had a good year. He's been a good hire. It looks like he's been adaptive. He changed the offense up basically midway through the season. So he's got a smart offensive mind. That was one of the worst coach games. That was the worst coach game I think he's had all year. They didn't have a plan for them to have 9 guys in the box. And I don't get why there wasn't like, hey, like this is an emergency game plan. If they're going to put 9 guys in the box, we can't do anything. Like you can't run against 9-man boxes. Like it's just not going to happen in the NFL. It just becomes a numbers game, right? You're going to have 7 blockers max. There's going to be 2 guys that are free. So it's just not going to happen. And there was plays to be made. Like Devonta Smith was getting one-on-one coverage. Like you had Dallas Goedert one-on-one coverage. They didn't have a game plan to counteract the Tampa Bay Buccaneers stacking the box. And they got off to such a bad start. Like you had 3 3-and-outs right out the gate. Bucks were up 17-0 before you could blink. And it was kind of over. Like it was over. But I thought Jalen Hurts' interception before halftime was when the game was like officially over. I know people want to say the Rager drop, the rough punt, which we'll get to in a bit. I have a lot to say about that guy, but it was disappointing. But it was kind of a wake-up call. This team is they all the issues and all the kind of issues surrounding this team over from 2020 are still leaking here. Like all the decisions they made, of course, taking Rager over Jefferson, just like the salary, they don't have the talent. They're like 29% of their salary cap is going to players that are on the team. So I think this kind of just overemphasized the issues with this team long term.
Yeah, I guess you can look at it that way, but I still, as Eagles fans, think you guys should have a positive spin.
Oh, for sure. 100%. The season was a success. Like it was just, this was like a wake-up call. Like, hey, you're not at that level yet. Like you're still a year away. Like, you know what I mean? Like because there was people thinking that they could beat them and that they could be up in the upper echelon of teams in the NFC. And they're not there.
Well, they didn't have a single impressive win all year at the end of the day. Like, yeah. Who's the best quarterback that they beat this year? Matt Ryan and the Falcons.
That was week 1. That was week 1.
Yeah. Like they were just missing that signature win on the year.
The biggest win was against the Saints when they ran all over them, but Trevor Siemian started for them. Like it was more the Eagles offense beating the Saints defense. It wasn't like they beat a good quarterback, but yeah, you're right. That was probably the most impressive win. And there's like Jake Fromm, like they were playing bad quarterbacks. They were.
Yeah. But like I said at the start of this little segment, like it's a positive season overall. Jalen Hurts at least showed he's something. I'm still going to have question marks on the guy, but his season was definitely more impressive than what I expected. So I'll give him that. And he's definitely earned, I think, another year to be a starter. But the question is now for the Eagles with 3 first-round picks in this year, this is when you would have the ammo to go make a trade for a quarterback. Yeah. So it's kind of bad timing in that sense because you would love to give Hurts another year, but Deshaun Watson might not be available in another year.
Yeah. I think it would be Deshaun Watson. That would be the guy to look for. I don't think you're trading for Russell Wilson. Mike Sando, a guy I just talked to, he's really connected with the organization. He believes Russell Wilson's going to be back there, and Pete Carroll both going to be back there. So I think it would be Deshaun Watson. And I was thinking today, like, what would it take? I even texted you. I was trying to figure out what the trade would look like. I really want them to have at least 2 draft picks in the first round this year. I think it's important. They need to infuse this team with talent. They need young players on the roster. They're getting old. They missed on a lot of draft picks like in the last 3-4 years. So they don't have a lot of up-and-coming young talent. Young talent they have already signed to new deals. Vontae Maddox, Dallas Goedert, Josh Sweat. That's kind of your core. Landon Dickerson, Devonta Smith. Like, you need to add more talent to this roster. So I think having 2 picks in the draft would be key now. Look, I think the right way to go with this is you let Jalen Hurts have another year. I agree with you. I don't know if Jalen Hurts is going to be a franchise quarterback or not yet. No one does. That's what I'm saying. It's still out in the open. He's a 23-year-old kid. That's what I also said to Sando. We all forget like how young he is because he's been in the limelight since he was 18, right? Like, he's been in Alabama. Like, he was a freshman. He came out right at the gate. So like, we just forget how young he still is. And I do think he made progress as the year went on. I do think his arm got better, and look, he still got things to work on. I think a full offseason with the head coach to work on those. He's earned that. And I think those things can be fixable. Like, he didn't read the defense very well in that game against the Bucs. Like, there was throws that he missed. Like, Devonta Smith was open on a crossing route one time, completely just wasn't even looking his way. He had Quez Watkins deep. Dan Orlovsky did a good breakdown on that. He had Watkins wide open early on in the game, didn't even look his way. I just feel like the stuff that they can work on can be fixed. The arm strength's never going to be there, but you don't need a rocket arm to be a good quarterback in the NFL. If you make the decisions on time and properly, you can be a good quarterback.
I agree. And at the same time, the legend of Tom Brady just only grows. Now, 35 postseason wins. The next closest in NFL history is Joe Montana with 16.
I think I saw a stat where it was like all the active quarterbacks in the NFL, he has more playoff wins than all of them combined.
Yes. And he now has more playoff wins after 37 than anybody does in NFL history. He has 3 times as many playoff wins as Aaron Rodgers, who is arguably the most talented quarterback of all time. Yeah. And Tom Brady has 3 times as many playoff wins as him. It's hard to fathom. Like, we just watched Big Ben last night fall apart and just crumble as his body just crumbled. He's 39. He's 5 years younger than Tom Brady. Tom Brady just led the NFL in passing yards. Like, I know. I
feel like I have this kind of like epiphany moment like once a month where I'm like, this is fucked. Like, this is not normal. Like, when we all talk about how it's normal and what he's doing, it's not normal. This is this is not what human beings should be doing. You shouldn't be 44 years old playing at this high level quarterback in the NFL. It's not what human beings. It's not in our capabilities, and somehow it isn't his. I don't get it.
It doesn't make sense. And the Bucs, I guess, a little bit of injury concern there with Tristan Wirfs. Hopefully he's okay. He tried to give it a go, but it clearly his ankle was bothering him. Mm-hmm. He's imperative for a Super Bowl run. They need him healthy. Looks like Ryan Jensen dodged the bullet, and he was able to finish that game. So that offensive line is just so good. So as long as that O-line stays healthy, I think the Bucs have just as much of a chance to win the Super Bowl as anyone. I love watching Tom.
I still think Green Bay. I don't know. I wasn't super impressed with them. Like, their offense at the gate when they had the scripted plays right out the gate, they looked hot. But like, the Eagles' defense was starting to catch on to it. I don't think they have the juice. Like, Tyler Johnson had a couple of big drops. Like, I feel like one of those guys need to come up big eventually. Like, you're going to have to get a place from those guys. I just don't know if they can make it. Their defense, Todd Bowles had the defense playing really hard, so I think they'd have kind of to win the back of the defense. But yeah, you're right. You got Tom Brady. You're going to be in the running. I think the Rams versus them, if that's the matchup, I think you'd rather play the Rams over the Cardinals. If I'm the Bucs, I'd rather take the Rams just from the Kyler Murray factor of getting out of the pocket and just Stafford. Like, I feel like Todd Bowles could get a better defensive game plan around Stafford than he could have gone Kyler Murray. But so so the winner of that game plays goes to Tampa, correct?
Yeah.
No matter what? Okay.
Yeah. So what was your main takeaway from the Bengals defeating the Las Vegas Raiders?
The officiating was god awful. And did you see that the refs they're not allowing that reffing crew to ref in the rest of the playoffs? I don't know if you saw that nugget.
So I guess, that was the big play. The ref inadvertent whistle. Clearly Burrow was still in bounds, but how about after the game, the NFL releases a statement. The whistle was after Boyd caught the touchdown pass. It's like,
no, it wasn't. Lying to us? We all saw. We have eyes.
Yeah, we all heard the whistle, and you could see the ref blowing the whistle during the play. Just don't lie to us. Just say, hey, we inadvertent whistle, but the touchdown would have been caught. I don't know. I found that hilarious how they're like
Yeah.
just tried to pull the wool over our eyes like we're idiots or something.
Yeah, it was a bad officiated game. I also thought the Raiders kind of left a lot on the table there. Like I said they should have went for it on that first drive. They should have got a touchdown right there. Taking that first field goal, I thought was a bad decision. And then there was touchdowns versus field goals, right? Like they kicked 4 field goals in that game. Like it's the tale as old as time. If you want to win the playoffs, you got to put touchdowns on the board and not field goals. I don't know what Derek Carr was great until the 20-yard line. Like that red zone offense struggled. Like there was zero reason they should have scored at least 1 more, 2 more touchdowns to the field goals in that game. But I did think the Bengals, Jamar Chase, still lighting it up. I'm really looking forward to the AFC playoff matchups now. Like that they're set. I think it's going to be like you got the best 4 teams. I'm happy that those 4 teams are moving on. But I don't think there's anything big picture there for the Raiders. It's tough to kind of figure out what direction they're going. So it's hard to kind of get a takeaway from that. Like they're interviewing new GMs now, I believe. So it's not 100% sure that Bisaccia and Mike Mayock are back. So it's kind of wait and see with them. But I do think that the Bengals, that was a big time win. First playoff win in 30 years for that franchise? Like
1990.
Yeah, 1991, I think, was it? No, or was it 1990? 1990.
And yeah, the
That's
big one was the text message was invented in 1991. Yeah. So
no one's ever
texted. Anyone's ever texted about a Bengals win. Yeah,
that's funny. But yeah, no, that was Joe Burrow came up big. Like he made the throws he needed to make. I didn't think the Bengals played their best game, but it's a winnable matchup in Tennessee. Like the Titans aren't that's a pretty even matchup. It's going to be curious to see what the Titans' health looks like too. Their injury reports. So I do think the 4 best teams ultimately made it on. The night game on Saturday, Buffalo Bills absolutely trouncing the New England Patriots. It was beautiful to watch.
Oh my goodness! More touchdowns than third down attempts. Like, how is that even possible? They didn't even get them to third down. They had something like 6 or 7 touchdowns, and they didn't even have that many third down attempts. Like, this was as perfect of an offensive game as any team could have. No punts, no field goals. Just
5 drives, 5 touchdowns. It was the first team in NFL history to score 5 touchdowns on their first 5 drives. Like, it was historically an historic offensive performance from that team. Josh Allen's a superhero. Like, he's so darn good. Like when he's on his game, when he's getting receivers open, when he's using his full capabilities of getting the ball deep downfield, using his legs, he's like up there. Like he's a top 5 quarterback. He could be the best quarterback in the NFL. When he's on his game, when Josh Allen is playing at his best, he is arguably the best football quarterback. He's the best quarterback in the NFL when he's playing at his best.
Oh yeah,
there's more upside with him, right?
He has that look now of the like, get on my back, I'm doing this like type guy. And that's something we didn't mention about Jalen Hurts there. Like, it is still valuable that he got playoff experience. Didn't go well, but he's going to learn from this. Everybody has to take their first playoff loss. See Josh Allen the last couple of years. He's gotten those bumps and bruises, and now you can see his growth from it and how bad he wants to win. He's sick of losing, so he wants to win. He's telling everybody, get on my back. I'm taking us to the promised land, and it's awesome to see. Like, I'll be rooting for the Bills the rest of the way here.
Yeah, I always thought that the road was tough for them. That's why I'm kind of like, I was worried about them making Super Bowl. Like, look, you said to beat the Patriots. Like, that was a big time win, going in, beating that team's haunted that organization forever. Right, like the Patriots have won. The Patriots going into that game won 19 of the last 22 games in Buffalo. Like that organization has just said they've been the ghost to the Bills, right? So they finally got that monkey off your back, and now you got to go to Kansas City and to Arrowhead. Like it's a very hard road.
Yeah, in the Tom Brady era, the Bills had 3 wins versus the Patriots. Since Brady's left, they now have 4 wins versus the Patriots. It's the passing of the guard in the AFC East. I think the Bills, as long as Josh Allen's is there, will be the team to beat in that division for another decade, hopefully. So, Pats fans, I don't feel that bad for you considering how good you've had it for the last 20 years with Tom Brady. So, don't feel bad for Patriots fans whatsoever.
Anything else from that game? Like New England, not much to take away. I called this. Like not just toot my own horn here. I thought this was the easiest game to predict. I thought just the matchup wasn't good. Buffalo's playing its best football. New England's playing its worst football. New England just looked outgunned. They don't have the roster. Like they need some weapons on offense. I think you could look at a big picture. Take care. Is Mac Jones the guy? Like, look,
hey,
you know what I mean? Like he didn't look very good. Like, he had that one run, like when they were winning this on that 7-game win streak, but like, I don't know. Like he doesn't really pass the eye test to me. The efficiency numbers, I guess, are there, but like you need, like when it comes to playoff time, you're gonna have to make big throws. You can't be you can't be affording to just have the offense kind of tailored around you. You got to be able to make big throws away from what the play's called. He doesn't really do that. I don't know. I feel like it's an under talked about topic is if Bill Belichick thinks he's the guy, right? Like what do you think Bill's thinking, right?
You definitely saw some limitations in his game. Yeah. Once they got down 2 scores, 3 scores, the game was over. Mac Jones, I don't think has it in him yet, or definitely not yet, at least, to lead a 3-score comeback on his arm. He's not that type of guy. He's closer to a game manager than a gunslinger. So as positive as Mac Jones's rookie season was, you definitely saw some limitations there, and that's got to be worrisome.
So Tom Brady just dropped, like, Tom Brady does like the social media stuff. Like I believe after every game he does like a little video. He used the Dreams and Nightmares song that the Eagles ran out to in the Super Bowl 4 years ago as the background music. Just troll Eagles fans. Oh man, Tom Brady's really good at social media. Like his social media team there, he's really good at that.
He is, especially for his age.
Yeah. I don't think he's doing it. I don't think he's doing it though. I think he's definitely hired some guy to do. I don't think Brady's editing videos in his spare time, but no, he
probably
did.
Not.
He's one of the first athletes to kind of have like a nice social media brand behind him. But okay, nothing left on the Patriots, Bills. So Eagles, Bucks, we already talked about. Cowboys, 49ers. I don't even know what to say at the end of that game. I've never seen anything like that before. That was crazy.
I guess what I'll say is Mike McCarthy's getting a lot of heat for that, rightfully so. Don't you think Dak should have pulled up 5 yards sooner?
Yes. Yeah, like, every yard you keep going is a second off the clock. Yeah. You need to have a clock in your head going off.
I don't think nearly enough people are talking about why did Dak run so far? Like, you got the first down. Is there really a difference between throwing a Hail Mary from the 30 and the 35?
Exactly. I completely agree. That was Mike McCarthy shouldn't be getting heat for that. Mike McCarthy should be getting heat for a lot of other decisions and things that happened in this game. What the hell were they doing after that fake punt? Like, why? Put the freaking offense back on the field. I can't wrap my head around it. It was a great play. You used a great fake punt. They should have went for it anyways. You let Dak throw the ball instead of the punter, but okay, it worked. You got it. Then get your offense back on the field. I don't get that one. The Cowboys had like 14 penalties in this game. Yeah. They led the NFL in penalties this year, so that's been a big problem for them. They're undisciplined. Mike McCarthy, like the couple punts there. I can't remember the exact game situations, but there was a couple times where just go for it. Like, why are we punting the ball here? Even you're like at least less aggressive than I am, and you were even saying like, what are they doing here? It's just a bad run. It's just a bad coach team.
Yeah, and also Mike McCarthy's getting a lot of heat. Why isn't Kellen Moore getting more heat?
I agree with that.
I couldn't stand their play calling in the first half. They were so conservative. I think that the biggest weakness that the 49ers have right now is their cornerbacks, and like hardly saw Cooper or Lamb going deep, putting pressure on their secondary. It was a lot of conservative type stuff.
A lot of Dak, like 5-step drop, curl routes. Like it looked static.
Yeah. I thought Kellen Moore should be getting some more heat as well.
Yeah.
Mike McCarthy's kind of taking it all on his chin. I respect that for him, but he deserves a lot of
100%.
Too. He coached this game like it was 1990, I thought. And San Francisco tried their best to give this game to Dallas. Like that fourth quarter, San Francisco was trying so hard to blow it.
Yeah.
But Dallas just couldn't take advantage and came up just short.
Yeah. I don't even know what to do with him because look, Jerry Jones is a pretty loyal guy. Like he gave Jason Garrett 8 years. Right? Like Garrett was around for probably 2 or 3 years too long. I don't think he fires him. Like I'm assuming Mike McCarthy's back, but
Yeah, they already said he is.
This gets interesting here. Like you're gonna have one. Dan Quinn is going to get a job somewhere. Like Denver's probably. My best. Sando just talked about this earlier. He thinks he's going to Denver. Dan Quinn he deserves a job. He did a good job in Atlanta. He's proven his defense. He's adaptable on defense. He can work with what he's got. So Dan Quinn deserves a job. He's going to get one. Kellen Moore, we'll see. But there's a world here where he loses both of his coordinators in 2 years, and now. That's well, I think I talked about this last episode. The biggest issue with the Eagles was when they won the Super Bowl was when they lost their coordinators. When Frank Reich left that building, Doug Pearson didn't do a good job of replacing him. I don't know who's Mike McCarthy's going to bring on his staff now. Like if Kellen Moore and Dan Quinn walk out the building, it's massive losses for this team.
Yeah, Dan Quinn 1,000% deserves a head coaching job because if at the beginning of the year you said to me, "Oh, Cowboys aren't going to win a playoff game," I'd say, "Yeah, it's the Cowboys." But if you said to me they're not going to win a playoff team because of their offense, it's not going to be because of their defense, I would say, "What? In what world do the Cowboys have a good defense?" And Dan Quinn did an incredible job with this unit this year. They were number 1 this year in DVOA, and the eye test passed it. So I'll be stunned if Dan Quinn doesn't get another opportunity as a head coach.
Yeah, he deserves one. He will definitely get a job. He's been probably the most interviewed candidate so far. So yeah, this team's got questions going in the offseason. Like their roster is still going to be there. But they're getting a year older though. Like Elliott's now another year older, and their offensive line is interesting. They lost that game because the offensive line. So that was Dak Prescott's second most pressures that he's had in his entire career. And Ezekiel Elliott had 1 yard before he hit contact. Like they were in his grill whenever he touched the ball. So offensive line's an issue. Michael Gallup, it looked like they missed him too. Like he's walking out the door. Like Mari Cooper is making $25 million. He's not looking at a $25 million receiver right now. They're going to need him to kind of take a step up next year if they're going to get value for that contract. So I don't know. Like I thought this was their chance. In my opinion, this was the best version of Dallas Cowboys we've seen in a long time. Like you had a good defense here. All you need was the offense and they were supposed to be a top 5 offense. So I don't know. I feel like this is a massive missed opportunity for a franchise that can't afford it. So they have now 3 playoff wins, Warner, in the last 25 years.
Yeah.
Like this organization is like, you're in Detroit Lion territory here. Like,
like quietly, people don't realize that. I don't think you see that cowboy logo, you think success. It's since those great teams of the 90s, it's been really, really ugly.
Like guys like Mark Sanchez have more playoff wins than the Cowboys in the last 25 years. Like Nick Foles. This is not good. So this is I think if I'm a Cowboys fan, I'm pissed. Did you see Stephen A. Smith today on First Take? Oh my! He did like all the clips of the crying fans. Yeah, there were a lot of upset fans in Dallas. Did you see the fans throwing shit at the players?
No, they were trying to throw it at the refs.
One of them hit DeMarcus
Lawrence.
Players.
Hit 90. Trying to throw it at the refs.
And Dak goes on and says that's okay.
Yeah,
did you see that? What was that?
But they kind of let him. Like the way the question was asked was kind of. He misunderstood the question. At first, he thought that they were throwing it at his players. So he's like, hey, don't do that. Don't do that. And then all of a sudden, someone chimed in. It was like, oh, they're throwing it at the refs. And he just cracked a joke. He was like, oh, okay, never mind then. Like, you're just kind of he didn't come out and say, oh, good for throwing stuff at the refs. The question kind of got twisted.
Yeah, it's ugly. Like, I'd be really disappointed if I was a Cowboys fan. Like this was a great opportunity. 49ers side of things is this a bad matchup for Green Bay here?
There's no way that Green Bay wanted to see San Francisco coming through those doors.
There is PTSD from Packers fans already from what happened 2 years ago. And look, they played great. Like Jimmy Garoppolo is making the throws when he needs them. He's not making. He did his best. He tried to get the ball away. But like what I talked about last week, you're going to get that with him. It's going to happen. Yeah. Can he just limit that? And when he needs to make the big throws, can he? And Deebo Samuel is the most electric player in the league. He's so much fun to watch. And Kyle Shanahan's out of his mind. Like he's on one right now. Like his play calling has been great. Like that toss to Deebo Samuel to ice the game at the end was brilliant.
Yeah, I mean, this San Francisco team had 340 yards of offense, George Kittle only had 1 catch, 18 yards. Like
Yeah.
they didn't even use all their weapons. Like, and their offense had success. They came out firing. I love the way they started. They set the tone early in this game and took advantage of Dallas while they were sleeping. So credit to San Fran. They're going to get that run game going in Lambeau. You know it is. I expect a shootout there. I mean, San Francisco is going to run the ball, not throw it. But I could see a high-scoring game. Whoever kind of has the ball last there takes that one.
So I just saw a tweet from Marcus Mosher. He's a Cowboys writer. He tweeted, Tyron Smith allowed 6 pressures and 4 hurries on Sunday. That was the most he's allowed in a game since 2012. Like he's getting old. It just kind of emphasized like a team that roster is changing. But okay. Anything else in that game?
No, and even the last game.
Yeah, I don't know much
to bye, Big Ben.
I like in my head, I'm like, this is not where Andy Reid likes to be when he's down in playoff games. I've seen this play out before as a kid. Send that message to the group within 7 minutes of playing time. From a 4-minute mark, I believe, in the second quarter to the 12-minute mark in the third quarter, the Chiefs put up 35 points.
Yeah.
In 7 minutes, man. It was just
under
again.
The over-under was 46, and there was over 46 points scored in something like 17 minutes of football time. Like, just the Chiefs, just every time they got the ball, touchdown. Like,
It was crazy.
It was nuts.
They're a wagon. They're still who they are. They're playing They're playing the best football they've played in a long time. Heading in, they're hot. Like this matchup coming in.
Did they just find their starting running back in Jerick McKinnon?
Yeah. What a game he had. He's an Andy Reid style running back. Like he likes those guys that catch a ball in his backfield. Had hit for any time touchdown. That was a good look from Brendo all week. Saw that one. But yeah, he's a player and good for him. Like he was a good player in the Vikings in 2017.
Really on that serious injury issues 2 years in a row. So good to see him finally get his chance to make the most of it.
All right. Do you want to make a prediction for tonight? Before we get out of here?
I'm on the Rams. I think Rams take it and cover.
You are? Okay. I'm on the Cardinals money line. I think the Cardinals pull off the upset here, but I'm 1 for 4 so far. So because I took all dogs. It's been a chalk week.
Yeah. I guess only San Francisco, only
Oh yeah, so I got that one. No, never mind. So I got that in Buffalo. So I missed the Eagles, and so yeah, I'm 2 for 5. 2 for 3. Sorry, 2 and 3.
All right. Yeah.
Alrighty. We'll Eagles Talk with D. We'll be back tomorrow. I'm talking with Philly Mike. He's the host of the Philly Talk podcast. On his YouTube channel, he does great work there. We're kind of talking about what the future looks like for the Eagles and how we progress. Wednesday, a third time on the Double Doink podcast, Amy Trask is back with the boys. We'll be talking to her. We love her. She's great. And then, we will talk to you later.